credit doesn't even do it service. But
why don't you bring him on?
Oh man,
he's ready to go.
There is no way I can. All right. I mean, really, it's the only way to call him is Sacramento Kings icon, the one, the only Mr. Jerry Reynolds joins the program.
How are you, Coach?
I am really good. I'm just better getting a chance to talk to you guys. Of course, Chris is, one of my heroes, which tells you I've really got to move my standards up a little bit.
You got to get those up, Jerry. We'll talk about it someday, but you got to raise those things.
Jerry, I don't know if you heard because you were just coming on there, but Chris said when he said that he talked to you before a game last year, and he said you were talking to him, and then afterwards, he said everyone was envious of him. Yeah. He said it was like at high school when the pretty girl talks to you and then everyone says, was she talking to you? That's how he felt when you talked to him before a game last year.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's the way it should be. Of course. But I got to tell you, though, Chris, I'm a little concerned that in fantasy, when you hit your peak at 6 years old, I was going to tell Whitey, I said, are you working with Benjamin Button or something?
Let me tell you, a lot of things about life are all downhill from 6. Like, I've never had less responsibility and more fun than when I was 6 years old. So
no, I can't argue that either. I think that might have been my peak as well.
Jerry, before we get into the nuts and bolts of whatever is going on with the Kings, we had something that came up yesterday, and Jay brought some up. We just started talking about the Kings players from the Sacramento era who were the lunch bucket guys, hardest workers, blue-collar players, if you will. I'm just wondering, who are some of the guys that come to mind for you, Sacramento era, the hardest working blue-collar type Kings?
Well, I think I would start with Bobby Jackson was that way. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Domas put right at the top of any list as far as hard-working guys. I think the guy that's currently on the two guys on the coaching staff, Doug Christie and Mike Woodson. Again, so you got 3 of them there. Mm-hmm. They brought it every night. I always say that those are the kind of guys that bring it every night. Sometimes they don't play well, but it's never lack of effort.
How about Rooney? How about Sharunas Marshalonis?
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I'll tell you he was a tough buckaroo, that's for sure. But then compared to the all-time tough buckaroo, Ron Artest, there were some good ones there, that's for sure. Kind of a forgotten guy, I think, in a little bit with his great competitive play and spirit was Brian Grant. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, there's some, there's an awful lot. And then, of course, there's some that probably didn't give 110% every night.
Hey, Jerry, this is Ramsey. I got a couple that I wanted to list off of those players. I was going to say, God rest his soul, Wayman Tisdale, and the big dog, Antoine Carr.
Oh, yeah. Antoine was really an underrated player, too. Had a great career, with Atlanta, and, of course, was very good for us, and then went on to play with the Spurs and had just tremendous. And Tizzy could score on anybody. He put that big butt on them, and they didn't move. I always remember talking to Buck Williams, who was one of the elite defenders in the league for years, and he said, I can guard him. I can't guard Tizzy. He said, he puts that big butt on me. I can't move.
And he had that Tizzy flip, right, with the left hand?
Yeah. Had the Tizzy flip, boy.
Yeah.
And, he'd talk to guys a little bit, he'd talk to them.
Jerry, do you think we overrate, like, as we kind of talk about the tenacity and stuff like that kind of mentality and more so it seems as we talk about the Kings' interest in Russell Westbrook, like a lot of the interest seems to be more of the intangible stuff, the off the floor, the mentality, the amount of work ethic and what he brings to the games on game day in terms of effort. Is that really something that can be transferred? Obviously, guys can kind of see the work put in and try and replicate it, but I guess more so specifically talking about Russell Westbrook, do you find the value in bringing him into that locker room specifically?
Well, I love Russ and his career. I'm not sure I would be a big fan of it on this team with as long as they've got all the guards they have. But if they were to move a couple of guards to where he would have minutes, I think he could help. But I guess what I would say to that, and I think it's a good point, but I think the key is having a guy like Russ when he was in his prime, because his tenacity and hustle and work ethic, that's when it carries over, is when your best players are like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Russ isn't that player anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, not today, he just hasn't been for a number of years. But I think we all remember him when, he was just not only fierce, but scared about half the guards in the league to death.
Speaking of the guard situation, and of course, Jerry Reynolds is with us. There's been a lot of stories coming out this week, and of course, you don't know exactly what's true, but first there was a report Kings are trying very hard to trade Malik. Then it came out, no, they're not looking so much at that. They might trade Devin Carter. I don't like the idea of trading Devin Carter before you know what he is. And also, if you traded him, you would still have that minutes crunch. You'd have Malik, and you'd have Russ, presuming this is all to bring in Russ. But then there's still a problem with the minutes. They both need a lot of minutes, or else there's no reason to have them on the team, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the issue I see it. Just where does everybody play? How much do they play? It really is making it tough for the coaching staff, I think. And the thing with Carter, and I was disappointed a little bit in this summer, but it's really still his first summer league. He didn't get to play last year, and he's one of those guys that does guard you and really does work hard at his game. And I'm a little bit like you. I'd like to know more. Because I felt they gave up too soon on Davion Mitchell, and I think that's kind of proven to be the case in Miami. But with young players, the idea of drafting them is for them to get better as they get older, and ask the Clippers how they feel about moving Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Not good. Not good.
Not good at all. Not good at all. Jerry, I'm curious too. Specifically, Whitey just kind of focused on Malik, but when I look at the guard rotation, I see Keon Ellis being the one who really is boxed out of minutes. You got Dennis Schroeder, Zach LaVine, Malik Monk, Neek Clifford, I think is going to steal some minutes at a guard position. And then you throw Russell Westbrook in there potentially. Where do you kind of see Keon's role day one, even just with the logjam? It feels like it's going to be tough for Keon to see minutes.
Here, I'll be honest with you. Here's how I see his role. On the floor. Get him on the damn floor. Play him a lot of minutes. And I think you've got to find 20 minutes. You just find 20 minutes for Neek Clifford. Mm-hmm. You get him 10 minutes a half. I don't care who don't. At some point somebody's going to get your feelings hurt, and the sooner. And it's a tough thing for Coach Christie, but the sooner you get to it, you like I say, it ain't little league. Everybody don't get play 3 innings. They're highly paid professional players, and you can say, whatever pouting you need to do, get it done. And let's get started.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I just think Keon needs to be on the floor. You've got, because he can defend and he can make open threes and will take open threes, and he's a ball mover on a team with guys who aren't ball movers.
Mm-hmm.
So he would fit with any group just about, where I think some of the others, it just creates actually more problems than it solves.
Jerry, I wanted to ask you about a specific player and how he may relate to the Kings' overall philosophy and what that should be. A report came out this week that Dallas has a guy that the Kings technically drafted. They drafted him for Dallas, Olivier Maxence Prosper. And Dallas is trying to clear a roster spot to bring in Dante Exum. So they're trying, according to the report, they're actively trying to trade him. Now, I know he hasn't played well, but he's 6'8". He came out of college with a reputation as being a defender. To me, the Kings are a team that they need some depth in the front court. I would be very interested in taking a flyer on a guy like that. And I know he's not going to help me this year much. He might not help me at all, but he might be one of those diamonds in the rough. But it speaks to where the Kings are. Are they a team that, as I would like them to be, is interested in players like that? Maybe a hit on a diamond in the rough. Or are they a team that's like, no, we're trying to win now. We can't afford that type of player. Where do you think they should be on a player like that?
Well, I think they should be looking at young, long wings. I do. Whether, if that's the best, I don't know enough about him to make a legitimate comment on whether he's a good risk or not. But you're going to have to take some chances, I think. And I mean, to me, it's a little bit like the Keon Ellis and Isaac Jones. I think they spotted a couple of good young players and developed them. And I think clearly Keon's ready to play, and I think Isaac is too. And but that's, when to me, that's how you really do get better. That kind of jumps the line when you can find guys who are ready to be good. I mean, I use the Indiana Pacers, I think, a great example of picking guys when other teams kind of gave up on them. In other words, obviously the Kings traded Halliburton and got a terrific player in return, but Obi Toppin and Naismith, all three of those guys were lottery picks in that draft, and the Pacers drafted none of them.
Yeah,
and they got them. Certainly nobody's too surprised about Tyrese, but the other two were kind of given up on by their teams that drafted them. And so, it's a long way of answering your question, but man, there's guys out there that are, give them time, and they're ready to be players. And of course, the Kings have on their coaching staff two of the ultimate examples, Bobby Jackson and Doug Christie. Basically they became terrific players with the Kings after being with 3 or 4 teams where they weren't.
There you go.
Jerry, I'm curious. You just kind of mentioned Indy there, and I was thinking the other day about them and maybe some similarities that they'll have with this year's Kings team, more specifically about the guards that they're going to roll out. I mean, just off the top of my head, Indy last year in the playoffs was running out Halliburton, TJ McConnell, Ben Shepherd, Neesmith, Nembhard, and Ben Mathurin. Feels like the Kings are going to be similar with, Schroeder and Monk and Levine and DeRozan and Keon Ellis and all those guys. Just in general, what are some of the benefits if we are going to run a smaller lineup? What would be some of the benefits that the Kings could lean into if they're going to have a guard-heavy rotation?
Well, you better. You really hit on, Chris. I mean, look at Indiana. What did they do? How did they do it? They played at a tremendous pace offensively and defensively. Picked up, pressed. Tried to get the game strung out. So size. Where size is an advantage is close to the basket. Being 6'5" in the middle of the floor against a guy at 6'2" really isn't much of an advantage. So what they did was just simply, okay, we're going to make you play 94 feet for 48 minutes. And we got more guards, that allows us to play more guards. And so I don't know, but to me, there again, that was Rick Carlisle. I just thought it was the most amazing coaching job, because if there had ever been a coach, and he was certainly a Hall of Fame coach before, but he called every play for 20 years of his coaching career, and he just basically turned them loose and said, only thing I'm asking you to do is bust your hump, for every minute and every second you're on the floor, offensively and defensively, and guard all 94 feet.
Jerry, I know it's kind of changed, and Rick Carlisle's a great example of that, but you as a coach in the NBA, how did you know when to call a play, when to let them sort things out for themselves?
Well, I wasn't really smart enough most of the time, but because sometimes the plays I called, they didn't run. So,
so what difference did it make, right?
Yeah. So I always remember Scotty Skiles once when he was a point guard for Orlando, and he was a terrific player, smart, and everything. I'd known him a long time, and he sidled up to me. He said, on that number 3 you called there, said, Rodney McRae not doing it right. And I said, yeah, he messed. He said, I said, Scott, why don't you tell him how to run that? He said, okay, I will. So sometimes, you got to have communication, fellas.
Yeah.
That's what they say, communication.
Did he tell Rodney that he was running it wrong? Did Rodney ever get the message?
Yeah, he did. Rodney respected him, and it's like, well, you wouldn't listen to me. You listen to Scott.
Yeah. Well, that's what Mike Brown would talk about all the time, right? It's like you can only listen to the coach for so
That's right.
long, and
That's
it's
right.
got to come from within at some point because those are the only ones that they're actually going to listen
Sometimes it
to.
comes from the other team. That's
Well,
right.
sometimes it comes from the other team.
I've said so many times too. It's like people say, like in timeouts. I said one thing I learned in timeouts is everything you say it twice, because there's always somebody ain't paying attention. And I should have learned. I actually learned that from Dean Smith. Told me that.
Really?
He said that's one thing. In timeout, always say everything twice.
Wow.
And that way, only about one guy won't get it.
Or one guy will get it, because sometimes you look in those huddles and guys, I don't know what they're looking at, the scoreboard, the cheerleaders, something.
Yeah, it's worse now, honestly, I believe, than in my era. I mean, I really do. I think that, of course, there's less actual structured plays to be run, things of that nature. So, I've always said the thing I always get a kick out of is now, in coaching at timeouts, you have a committee meeting out at the free throw line.
Yes.
And players kind of talk to one another. Then the committee breaks up. They go back to the huddle, and it's time for the game to start.
Yeah, they never end up talking to players.
And I'm not at all sure that wasn't a better way. I probably should have just went out and just, I didn't have one assistant. We could have just visited amongst ourselves.
Yeah, you're coaching your coaches how to coach. That's what you do in those meetings, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was the old Bear Bryant statement. One of the reasons he said he retired, he said, I really didn't know hardly half the players, and it's tough for me to even know the coaches, and all I was doing was coaching coaches.
It's like you mentioned those meetings, and the timeout's not that long, and then the coaches have their little meeting, and it's like, you better hurry up. There's not that much time left to tell the players what you want them to do, Jerry.
I know. That's what I was thinking about it. I certainly took my time. I told them what to do. I can't say it was real successful, but we certainly, they can't say that I didn't tell them what I wanted them to do, and of course, many times I knew they really weren't capable of it anyway.
But you got to try.
You got to try.
Jerry, you're killing me over here. Jerry, at this point in the off season, I mean, like, it's, trades are done, free agency's done. What really is like Doug Christie doing right now? Him and his coaching staff, are you just kind of getting ready for the season? Are you nervous? Are you excited? Do you feel like at this point in the off season, you would have a good sense of like a real gauge of how good your team is, like, or every year is it, oh, this is going to be the year, and then you just kind of, slowly or quickly learn it's not going to be?
Well, I think at this time of year, there's no reason not to be optimistic to a degree. And I think I would think if I were this stage of the year, there's nothing they really can do. I wouldn't spend too much time on it, but in another week or two, another week after Labor Day, which is coming up, but I mean, and start getting focused on what you think, would be the best offensive plan, the best defensive plan, some of your best lineups, and knowing all that. Once you get into preseason, you're going to say, "Whoop, that didn't work. That lineup's not what I thought it'd be, or this one might be better." But the reality is, every team, and I think you just by nature, you're expecting to be better than people think you're going to be. Mm-hmm. I've always said, it's really true. People think I'm lying, but I was, we might be playing the Lakers or the Celtics, back in the day, and by the time the game started, I thought we'd beat them. Mm-hmm. I really did. Now I know that. Looking, by the end of the game or by halftime, I'd say, "What the hell are you thinking? How could you be that optimistic?" But that's what I think you have to be like that. If you start off thinking, "Boy, we can't beat these guys. They're way better than us," and it may be true, but you just can't. You can't allow yourself to think like that. Make them prove they're better.
Mm-hmm. Before we let you go, how many wins for your Chiefs? How optimistic are you about your Chiefs this year?
I'm extremely optimistic. I've been watching Kingdom on ESPN. I'm sure Kyle's probably watching a lot too.
That's why he's not here today.
Yeah.
Catch up.
But I think I kind of think they'll be 13-4. I think they're going to lose a few more, but I think they're going to be better. Their schedule's tougher, but they're going to be good. Will they win a Super? I don't know, but they'll be one of the 4 or 5 teams good enough.
There you go.
That's what you're striving for. And if as long as Mahomes is upright, they got Andy Reid. I think they're a formidable team. That's for sure. And now that Travis is, he and
that's right.
the love affair is starting to get so he can focus on football again. And so
I saw somebody.
I did watch the Kelsey, a little snippet of the Kelsey's podcast with Taylor Swift, and I have to say, she is delightful. She's just absolutely delightful. Just delightful, fellas.
I heard somebody say, or I saw somebody say that with the engagement rings now, Kelsey finally got a ring without the officials helping him get it. How about that, Jared?
Oh boy, see how you are, Whitey. See, you had to go there, didn't you? Yeah. We appreciate you. Yeah. Hey, it's like I was watching the Cowboys thing on Netflix, and I just like they went through the same thing. It's like when they were back in the day with Aikman and those guys, and Jimmy Johnson. They get all the calls. Or the Cowboys. Well, it's been 30 years. How many calls they get these days?
Thank you, Coach. We appreciate it very much.
Enjoyed you guys, and certainly, I'm pretty sure, is Kyle at the Eagles camp? Is that where he's at?
Probably. Yeah. That's what we're assuming.
That or watching Kingdom.
That's what we're assuming. So.
Well, all right. Well, you guys have a good weekend, and Chris, the U.S. Open's on. Of course, there's some pickleball if you want to watch it too periodically.
No, thank you. I will watch the tennis U.S. Open for sure, but pickleball, no thanks.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you, Jerry.
Proud of you.
Yes.
Okay,
see you guys.
Absolutely.
Please, Jerry Reynolds.
Please cut that saying he's proud of me, please. I'd like to make that my ringtone.
Yeah. Well, you guys have a history.